Support my content by becoming a patron on patreon.com/JaianMusic.
Hello, viewers, and welcome back to another abomination of an episode called Anime Podcasters. It has been ripped up from the ground and put together to create a podcast about anime.
This is your host, GoProkyo. I am your co-host, Hotshot Ginger, and today with us, we have our lovely host, JaianMusic. How's it going, buddy?
Hosts all around.
I'm doing well. Yes, host all around. I'm very happy to be here today. It's going to be a really special and weird episode of the podcast, in my opinion.
Special is a very good way to put it.
It's a questionable podcast.
We're talking about the anime movie of Frankenstein, also known as Monster of Frankenstein or The Terror of Frankenstein. The reason why we're doing this is because on the last podcast we talked about an anime Frankenstein where we would constitute our own.
Where Jane and I made a complete abomination of a mass of different body parts of different anime characters.
I think the reason why we're using the word abomination so much right now is because we're definitely describing the creature that is Frankenstein.
I was describing the movie in general.
When I was looking for a thumbnail for this episode that we did with Hotshot, where we assembled our own anime Frankenstein, I came across this movie. It's very niche. It came out in the 80s, a really weird Frankenstein anime movie. So we're going to be podcasting about this for you guys today. Before we get into that, June 22nd is going to be a very special day for the podcast because that's going to mark our 5-year anniversary. Yeah. And what are we doing for that episode, guys? What are we doing for that episode?
We're answering voicemails. Like, basically, you guys could send mail and we answer it, but in all voice versions. Yeah, that. Because we don't use the posted system.
Basically, it's just going to be a podcast where we don't really talk about anime necessarily. We're going to talk about the podcast as a whole and exactly like how we got to this point, how it got started. I think we've kind of told the story about how we've met Jaian, but we didn't get into the story of like how we really got the podcast started, and we feel like
how
both
we met
answering
or anything like that. Like basically our origin story.
Yeah,
every
we
hero
felt like
needs a tragic origin story, and ours was meeting Jaden. So
we feel like the best way to celebrate it is to let you guys ask us some questions, like whether it be about us, the podcast, any particular anime we've seen, or just
even anime
general
recommendations.
Anything.
Like if you guys say, "Hey, have you heard of so and so?" You should check it out. Like you guys can even recommend your favorite animes to us.
Yeah.
Like basically, it's just your chance to talk to us. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, just anything, just let us have it.
Yes, and if you want to leave us a voicemail, you can go on speakpipe.com/animepodcasters. You go on that page, you click the start recording button, you leave your voicemail, you listen back, and you send it away, and we will include it on the podcast. So that's it for that. So let's get into this movie, if you want to use that word to describe it.
Sure.
I think abomination sums it up pretty well, though.
Abomination's a great descriptive word.
Initial thoughts, guys. We've used that word quite a lot. More specifically, what were your first takes?
I will not use the word abomination. I will, however, use bad. It was bad.
I kind of didn't know what to expect. Like, just so if you could show the poster or something, because the poster is just the monster in the middle of a field, and then there's the characters behind him. It's like they're all going on like fucking Goku's journey or something, and I knew it wasn't going to be good, but to my surprise, there were some actually good bits in there. We can go over them a little more in detail as we go on, but
it's not going to take
ultimately
it's not going to take us long to cover the good. Don't worry.
No, it's not. But ultimately, it was just full on thoughts there. Just not a good movie.
And full on disclosure here, real quick, guys, and this is for Kyo and Jaden too. When I say Frankenstein, I'm talking about the monster. I know it's Dr. Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster, but
for the sake of simplicity,
I'm just going to call the monster Frankenstein. If I'm talking about the doctor and professor, I'm just going to use his name Victor. If I'm talking about the monster, it's going to be Frankenstein, just so you guys know.
Cool. For myself, the thing is, I watched the old 1930s Frankenstein movies. I watched the first one, The Bride of Frankenstein, The Son of Frankenstein, and then The Ghost of Frankenstein, and I was in this very horror movie vibe, and Frankenstein was just a really good character that I enjoyed, especially because of how hard he has it because of how he came up. You know, he didn't choose to come to life. He was assembled, and when his experiment goes wrong and he becomes violent, he becomes this thing that goes to like people's farms and eats their food and kills them, but it doesn't realize that what he's doing is bad, and he grows emotionally it's like a pretty 2D thing where he's either like in a killing, angry mood, or he's like lovable and really caring with the Dr. Victor's daughter and her grandfather. That's the only part where I really see him being like kind and have any sort of good in him. And I understand. I don't think this movie's good at all. But I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it a pass in the sense that, considering that it was made in the 80s, it's really like, and we're watching this 40 years. Almost 40 years after it was made.
I'm still gonna point to you and say it shouldn't have a pass because Akira came out not too long after this movie did.
Yeah, but I didn't like Akira.
I understand that. And
not everyone likes Akira. I didn't like Akira.
Yeah, it's a very personal thing, right? I'm a fan of the Frankenstein franchise, right? And for that, I think I rate it a bit higher. I would give it a 6. You know, I wouldn't give it like at best I would give it a 6, like a 5.5.
Here's the
reason why.
Well, okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the reason why I would give it that mark is because of it holds true to who Frankenstein is as a character in the 1930s version. The whole grandpa thing, where the grandfather is blind and can't see Frankenstein, and that's how Frankenstein learns to like love and say words properly. That's a whole callback to The Bride of Frankenstein in the second Frankenstein movie, where Frankenstein is chased out of the village. And he goes in the forest, and he meets this old man who plays music and who's blind, and he doesn't realize that Frankenstein is a monster. He can't see him, right? And so there's like cool connections that made me appreciate it. I just thought the ending was really rushed too. Is the other thing I wanted to say really quickly, that like everyone just kind of dies in the last 20 minutes. You know, it was really just random. The pacing was off. And I felt like. Okay, I don't want to say all my thoughts at once. Go ahead, Hotshot, please. You had something you wanted to say.
So, like you, I'm a fan of Frankenstein, and I actually have seen the classic Frankenstein movies. Though
I'm just gonna put this out there before you continue there.
Yeah,
I have not seen any of it, but I know
I
know about all of this stuff because, like, for one, I followed a guy who like went over the Frankenstein franchise as a whole because I got into black and white horror a little bit. Like I started learning about them, and I thought it was really cool to like just see some of the old filmmaking stuff. Mm-hmm. But I have not seen any of the movies.
Okay,
not one.
Okay,
except for Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
That doesn't count.
I know it doesn't.
So, like you, Jane, I have seen the movies, so it's been a while, but I'm still gonna put this one low. Like the highest I'd go is a 3.5 because it does have aspects in it that I do like, because I do love the grandfather, because the blind man has always been like my favorite part in any Frankenstein. The little girl was cute enough, I guess. Victor like actually being tormented in the blood and the gore was honestly kind of knocked me on my ass for how early this movie was, especially with it being an anime film. But the rest of it was bad. Just bad. It was just bad.
No, I know. I'm trying to like understand what you're going through, but like it's actually hard for me to understand. I get it. You don't like it, but you're using the same word to describe every single character, right? So I feel like you just kind of like saw it, and then you were like, oh, it's just this one's bad. So
I don't. That's the thing. That's kind of what I did, because it didn't leave an impression. It was just like, well, that's an hour and a half. I'm not going to get back because so Victor. So the whole story in creating Frankenstein, just one, don't you dare try to play God. Just don't. Just don't. So with him just doing that, and then everything leading, it starts with him saying, here, kill him, I'll make it worth your while, and then he just leaves. Like, he has no intention of coming back and making it worth a while. Like, he knows Frankenstein is out to kill this guy. And then the assistant gets his eye torn out by Frankenstein, and
which loses some sympathy points for a few minutes there.
yeah, and then Frankenstein tumbles down the cliff, and the guy, like, as far as we know, he's just left there to die, because he's left there, like, his eye bleeding out and everything else. Then we flash forward to God knows how long later, like, I think 8 years, just based on, like, how old Emily is.
I guess, or no, Emily was, I think it was just like a couple,
like 6?
like a week or something. I don't know. They never said exactly how long he was away.
Yeah, but...
Yeah, I don't think it was...
Oh, wait,
that's
right, he was on a trip. He was on a trip to the castle. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it, like, okay, when I first saw that, I didn't know that, and I thought it just, like...
Because they don't explain anything.
Like 6 years or something. Like,
nothing's explained at all.
So, okay, there's the reason it's bad. It doesn't explain. Like, it's left to your interpretation, which I do respect, but...
It's not left in the right
If I
places.
don't understand anything that's happening, like, give me a clue or something. Like, the biggest clue that I had was in the first arc where it turned out the assistant was doing everything and framing the monster. Like, that part I actually did like, because he got away with, like, all the crimes he wanted and freaking out Victor and everything else, and he had no, like, leadway of it being him. Like, it was just the monster, and everyone in town already believed there was a monster about. So he got away with it all. And he blackmailed Victor by saying, I'll tell the world your little secret. And then he just died in probably the most hilarious death, but it was just, and that's it. He was gone. Just gone.
No more assistant.
His head was just 180 degrees to the other direction. It was bad. That's the thing.
No,
like,
yeah,
where I'm supposed to go, like, oh, I was laughing my ass off. Like, you're supposed to feel bad for some of these characters and some of the deaths and everything else, and I was just laughing.
No, I understand. What I wanted to ask, though, from an animation point of view, I just felt it was one of the more lacking sections, that and the dubbing of the movie in general, because we just had, like, static images for the longest time sometimes. I just felt like the panning shots too were just very sluggish, and you could tell this was like...
If I may cut in here for a moment.
No, good.
Go,
yes.
Speed Racer, go, Speed Racer, go, Speed Racer, go. It is in that area. It is in that era of just old, janky, like, talking...
It's more than likely, just because of, like, or just because of how old it is, it's possible that it was made around, or, like, not that much longer, or, like, it was actually made in an earlier time than when it was released in America, because there's usually a disconnect between when something's made in Japan and then when it's made, or then when it's redubbed in America. And back in the 80s, nobody cared.
I just want this on record. This same studio would go on to create Dragon Ball.
They had made Dragon Ball by this point.
Go on to create Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, but I just want to cut in real quick. 1981, the Japanese release, right? And 1984 is the dubbing for
3 years.
Just to give you guys...
That's a 3-year gap between being created and then being brought to America.
It sounds like it was fan dubbed more than anything. Like, that is supposed to be someone in fire. And it's just... No, that's not in fire. That's minorly annoyed.
Yeah, I think we've established that. Let's go over. I think we've elaborated quite a bit on what we dislike. I want to maybe, like, flip it back to, like, what points did you, like, actually enjoy. I can go first. Personally, the music is something I enjoyed. Specifically, I really liked how it was used for whenever you saw Frankenstein on screen. For the most part, you would always have these dissonant, really weird, musical notes. Like, it would be like a chain of piano notes, or, like, kind of like falling down the steps very randomly, and you could just see that it interpreted, and it put emphasis on this creature being horrible and hideous and disconnected. So I appreciated that about the movie and the music. I felt like there was a good effort there. What about you guys? Some stuff that you did enjoy?
It's gonna take me a minute.
I would say, like, probably for me, the thing that I enjoyed the most is the way that Frankenstein is portrayed. I like a good chunk of how he's portrayed. The thing that I don't like is his face. He's got this weird like lip curl that stays throughout the rest of the movie, and he just looks so derpy. It's so funny. Just like every time he shows up on screen, his mouth is in the same position and it rarely moves. But like, sorry, getting back to what I do like is like his character is portrayed really well. I think it's a good portrayal of Frankenstein character-wise, but like voice acting is really bad. It really just kind of sounds like Patrick Starr. And I think the moment that stands out to me the most that makes me feel like this is a Frankenstein is that there's the scene where he's looking at his own reflection in the river, and he picks up a rock and starts throwing rocks at the reflection to try and, or like, it's such a thing, like, you know, like when you're a kid, you like see your shadow and you try to move your legs away from it and you try to get away from your shadow or something like that. That's what it reminds me of. And it feels very animalistic and feral, and it doesn't feel like, it just feels very much like a Frankenstein thing to do, is probably what I would say.
Mine is nowhere near as refined. I like the kills. So
yeah. Well, fair. I mean, if you enjoy them, Hotshot. That's cool. Like, and I'm happy you found something you could at least enjoy in the movie, you know?
Yeah, but it's really upsetting when it's the death of every character. Except for one death, which just completely floored me. Like, I will get into that later, and I do want to be the first one to talk about it. It is the last death of the movie. It just completely floored me to the point where, like, we had 2, maybe 3 minutes left in the movie. I paused it and left for 15 minutes. Like, I was laughing, and I was just, like, berating the stupidity of it all. But I'll get to that later. The kills and the gore, like I said, the assistant in the beginning, like, losing his eye, like, that was just the beginning of it. Then the assistant dying by his full-on neck snap. The housemaid dying by being completely scared to death and just her heart stopping. The mom dying by falling, flaming tree trunk. And it's just like all of these just really out there deaths, like that just wouldn't happen otherwise. It's just kind of like, huh. Like,
I mean, they're possible. Like, people can like get a heart attack from like a startle, basically. Like, if they're older.
Yeah, but
it's still very weird to think that it is possible and that they used that.
But when you think about it, like, only 2 deaths in the entire movie Frankenstein himself is responsible for. The old lady who he just scared because he just was standing there, and the guy who shot him. Because,
which, to be fair,
he shot him.
He shot at the monster, and the monster does not like that.
No, because it hurts. That was.
I don't think anyone likes that.
That would be.
Huh?
He doesn't think anyone would
I don't
like
think anyone likes getting shot at.
There are some people. I'm sure there's a fetish for getting shot at. I don't know what it is, and I don't want to know. However, just the different kills, really, like in the gore. Like, one of my favorite scenes, but it was so fucked up. Victor was just in the bathtub, and then blood started dripping down onto him, and he looked up.
Oh, the horse head, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just a horse head just flooding blood.
That was a cow head.
It was a cow head?
Yeah.
It was some form of mammal head above him and just dripping and raining down blood. And it was just like...
That is a surprising bit of gore to have in an 80s film.
Yeah.
You know? Like, even if it's Japanese, that's still like borderline TVMA shit, you know?
Yeah, and it was just like... Huh. Elfin Liad, you wanna chip in here, buddy?
No.
I want to add like this is more of
oh god, Frankenstein had Lucy's powers. Oh god, no. God help us.
Sorry, Jaian, go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
That's the whole other anime. I just thought it was touching. I felt like emotions. I definitely wasn't it wasn't a static thing for me the whole time. I felt I was happy when Frankenstein made some friends, and as he was killing these people and not understanding what he was doing, and the ending, I thought it was a touching piece of art altogether at the end of it. I don't think that it failed in that department. I don't know about you guys, but for me, it did it.
I legitimately had 2 emotions throughout this entire movie. What the fuck and what the fuck? So it was just completely stoic, like, okay, I'm accepting this is in my life right now. or completely like batshit off the wall laughing for just how bad either like the current dubbing was or the situation. Or
by the way, like if you want to watch an older anime, watching it dubbed is the best way to do it if you want to entertain yourself.
You want to see how bad it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really feel that much emotional weight until Frankenstein did start to become more human. Like
so after the point where like he meets Emily and the old man,
right? Where
Emily,
not the point where he was creeping on them through the window listening to the song, which we never heard, and
we heard musical notes, but there was no actual singing.
Yeah,
thank God for that though. It probably would have been worse.
Yeah, but
he starts singing, but it's like a horrible voice. He's like, oh God.
Dude, have you ever heard anybody dub like a song really well in 1980s anime?
Dude,
I can promise you
haven't.
Now. That it's better. It's slightly better.
It's slightly better, but it's hard to dub a Japanese song. They're kind of
then they write a different song.
Okay, but I digress. When he becomes more human, and then when because I was thinking that like throughout this whole movie that Frankenstein himself was a dick, but then I had to remind myself that wait, the assistant has been the one doing the monster stuff, and he hasn't really done anything wrong.
Yeah,
just the villagers assumed that it was the monster because that's the way it was set up.
Mm-hmm.
So I started feeling more emotion towards Frankenstein himself and his connection with Emily, connection with the blind man, and then that little fucker. What was his name?
Jonathan.
Jimmy.
What was his name?
I think Jimmy.
The boyfriend.
You see, I already forgot.
We're calling him Douche.
Yeah.
So Douche.
Jimmy.
I'm calling him Douche. So Douche comes up to the cabin and just sees Frankenstein in the cabin. Now, I will give him this. Admittedly, seeing him in the cabin.
Emily started off the same way. She was just startled by the appearance.
She was startled by the appearance, yeah. But I will give him that, like, being scared and, like, hearing about the monster, that, like, everything it was doing in town is being set up. I can understand that. But him to immediately rally the entire town, come to where the old man is living, and burn it down to the ground, it's a bit much, douche. You need to chill out, buddy.
The bigger problem with that is, like, the moment where Emily is trying to convince him, but he's just not listening.
Yeah, it's just like, you don't know what you're talking about, girl.
I mean, he doesn't say that, but he may as well have.
Yeah, because, like, this entire movie, like, he was actually listening to Emily, like, understanding, like, where she's coming from, like, especially with her family the way it is, and with like, him loving her grandfather and all this other stuff. But then the second he sees the monster, he's like, no, I must kill. But why? I have to kill it. I'm saying don't. I'm killing it. But, okay. And he goes out in the most bitch way, too. Just when he finally does bring up a gun.
That actually surprised me, like, how they actually did
dead!
that.
He's dead.
Just, okay.
Yeah.
He's in the village. He has the gun. He's firing at Frankenstein, which, by the way, no one in this movie can aim for shit.
One person, or wait, no, nobody actually shot him because
until like the last 10 minutes.
Like the dad kind of got an arm shot, but it was like a graze.
Yeah,
and then there was the bear that scratched that same spot. Which, ow!
Emily shot his hand. She's the only one to make actually full on contact. Because, but the dad shot later through his back, and that's because he was shooting directly in line of sight, and he was moving slowly ahead.
That's all the monster does, man.
Yeah. But with Douche, I think it was Jonathan, actually.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay. It
was Jonathan or Jimmy.
So he comes up, fires, and Frankenstein just kind of shrugs him off and, like...
He grabs the gun and then...
throws him up against the well, like, his back against the well, and then he just drops. You killed him!
Yeah, he goes
really?
limp. He goes like Gwen Stacy limp. It's so uncomfortable.
You killed him! Like, no, I didn't.
Weird.
He's really just unconscious. Like, no, the well was not cracked. The well was not broken. He just like, and that was it. It's
okay,
just like...
I have a theory, though. I want to go back to, like, at the very ending when Frankenstein falls and we believe he dies.
Okay.
At the beginning of the film, he falls down a cliff and he's still alive.
To be fair,
So,
though, when he falls off that cliff, he's not holding like a shotgun wound in his chest or anything. Like he's not heavily wounded when he falls. Then right now he is. In that fall he is.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying I didn't see a body, so I don't know. Maybe he's creeping around.
He is a body
right now.
Okay, then I'll show your body. The dad sighing, turning the shotgun all the way back to him, and go.
I want out of this movie, is what he says.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, I'm done. Later. I felt no emotion to that.
No emotion except for shock, as in, what the fuck and why did you do that?
Because, one, the monster that you wanted to destroy is dead.
Yeah,
2,
you got what you wanted.
Your little girl just lost her mother. 3, you might be able to reconcile with your father. Nah, I'm out. Just, boom, just gone. Just, dude, fucking... Why? You did the deed. You did what you meant to. I just can't go on. Yes, you can. Try. Just try. Tell bring us the Dragon Balls so we can try. Just fucking.
All right. I want to do a little special game for you guys. I got something ready that I did not tell you guys about.
Okay.
And we're going to do statistics about this film.
Oh god.
I don't like surprises. About things I don't like.
No. Okay, so this is going to be a few questions. It's going to be probably. Okay, so based on the My Anime List statistics for this movie, okay?
Oh,
this
right. I forgot. Oh, it's on My Anime List? Oh, Lord.
God help us.
Okay, yeah, don't look it up.
Now I can add it to my list.
Please don't.
Okay, what do you think? It was rated by 398 users. What do you think the score was, the average score after all?
I'm going to say my guess is
it out of 10 stars or 100%?
10.
Out of 10 stars. Okay.
1 to 10. From 1 to 10.
Oh, wait. Stars or like percentage?
No, just like it's like you could say
on
1 is like very bad and 10 is masterpiece.
Right. Yeah. Right. Duh.
I'd pay good money for it to be 10.
I'm going to say that it was about. Let's see. It's 9 to 10. I would say like 4.
I'm gonna call 3.
Final answer?
Final answers.
Okay. 5.58.
I'm out.
It's an average.
Of half good.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's okay. And now, next question. So in 2018, My Anime List reported to have over 15,000 animes on their site. Okay. So where do you think this anime ranks out of, let's say, 15,000? Considering that the ranking does not include R18 animes and animes that have not yet aired, where do you think it ranks from number 1 to 15,000?
I'm gonna guess 8,550.
Okay, and for yourself, Kyo?
I don't know. I want to say like it's 15 in the 10,000s. 15,000.
15,000s.
15,000s. Okay. I want to say like 1,400s.
So 1,400.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, it is ranked 8,997. So Hotshot was.
How did
really
you
close.
get
Yeah,
that number exactly?
Close to half of 15,000 since it ranked a 5.5 on average audience score. So
yeah, okay.
I at least got close.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So, any thoughts on that?
Why? That's my only thought. Just why?
I mean, it really is a coin flip because, like, people that love just the classic monster movies and, like, those are the creme de la creme of cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they'll probably have a soft spot for this because it is Frankenstein. And campy old anime like this, like, take for example, Astro Boy and Speed Racer are among 2 of the most popular animes in the world, even given when they came out.
Mm-hmm.
And this sets into that genre. But then with people who watch it either later or watch it with absolutely no idea what the hell's going on, they're not gonna like it.
Or
fair enough.
Or they're like me and they love to hate it because this is one of the most entertaining bad movies I've seen in a while.
Right. So there's several different groups of people that watch this, so it all just kind of correlates together. I just didn't expect it to get a 5.5 out of 10. I thought it would be a lot worse than that. But hey, if you like it, guys, if you're listening and you like it, by all means, continue to like it. I, however, do not, but I will probably watch it again because I hate myself.
Okay, so I was trying to find how many like people have an account on my anime list. I haven't found a number for that, but I found an article stating that in 2015 the site would get 120 million visitors a month. Okay, so that's the only information I can give you to help you out here. How many members do you think favorited this anime on my anime list?
You said you didn't get a full number of accounts, right?
Yeah, I don't know how many accounts there are. I can tell you that in 2015,
but he can't tell you how many people have hit the like or have added it to like.
Million people
go on my anime list every month in 2015.
That's I swear to God, if it's over 5,000, I'm just leaving this podcast. I'm going to play Halo if it's over 5,000.
Okay, so what are you guys' guesses? This will be the last question.
I'm going to guess probably 800.
800? Okay, and yourself, Hotshot?
If it's over 5,000.
Those are visitors. It doesn't mean that those people have accounts. The 120 million visitors.
Okay. 25,000.
3 people favorited.
I really overcompensated. Okay. Well, it's not over 5,000, so I guess I'm finishing this podcast.
I just want to meet these people and talk to them.
I want to slap them.
I was just going to say, I don't want to hurt anybody. I just want to know why.
No,
like I just want to talk to what kind of people like this, like just for my own personal curiosity.
I'm just gonna walk up to him, hands on shoulders, without a word, and go, "Frog."
I'm definitely not one of the 3, by the way.
Hello.
All right.
That did make me laugh. I have to give it that.
I was like, no, you idiot. It's Emily. My God, get it right.
Is there anything else you guys want to add on this movie? I think we're good. Personally, I think we're scratching the bottom here. Anything else you guys want to add?
I think we're good, but I have a question for you, Jaden. And this was one that Kyo asked me. Can we make this a regular thing where we hunt down bad anime movies and do an episode on them? There's one of Dracula.
I was literally going to propose Tomb of Dracula.
I did see I think we saw Tomb of Dracula on YouTube somewhere.
Like, I mean,
let's do it.
Like, I mean, of course, I'm gonna hate every single minute that we like prep for this and everything else, but at the same time, I love tearing things to shit. It's what I live for.
We love watching bad movies.
We do. Like, one of my trying to think of a bad movie I really like.
Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
I do really like Shark Boy and Lava Girl, and it's a god awful movie.
So bad.
Same can be said for X3, though I don't know why. I don't see it as a bad movie. Critically, it's a horrible movie, but I don't know why.
All right. Final thoughts for myself. I'm just gonna say I thought the movie was not as bad as as my other hosts are saying. I enjoyed.
What? Go on, Jaian. Say it.
I said hosts.
Of non-refined
I said hosts.
taste.
No, I said hosts. I get nothing for that. I literally said host. And you're like, define me by what I am. I'm like, you're a host. That's what you are. All right. In all seriousness, I enjoyed it in the sense that it was Frankenstein, and I'm a fan of the Frankenstein franchise, and it was a cool little detour to take on this podcast. We'll see if we do more, but yeah, I mean,
we'll find some more movies.
Not a crazy gold mine here. And if you guys watch this, listen to this podcast without seeing the movie, consider yourself lucky that we saved an hour and a half of your life. All right, so.
But if you want to waste an hour and a half of your life, you can find this movie on YouTube.
Free on YouTube.
Yeah.
1980s Frankenstein English dub. You will regret it.
That should be the tagline.
Or you'll be incredibly happy.
Oh gosh. Okay, and for yourself, Kyo, final thoughts.
Bad movie overall. had some good bits in there. There were some more parts that I really liked, but there's not enough to save the movie. So if you want to waste an hour and a half and just watch something that'll just hurt, then this is probably a good way to spend an afternoon.
Yeah. And final thoughts from me. I hated this movie. But I also had fun watching it because I do love movies that make me go, what the fuck? Because of how just pure ridiculous they can get, or just bad early English dubbing for anime especially is just really bad, but I always have fun with it.
That's why we've been watching like Speed Racer and Astro Boy.
Yeah, it's just hilarious to watch for me. So I did have fun with it, but would I recommend it? God, no. I'd recommend you bury it. So, I mean, if you want to waste your time, go ahead. If you don't, go ahead anyway. It's entirely up to you.
All right. So let's plug away. So just a reminder, if you guys want to leave us a voicemail for the next podcast, it's the top link of the description of this podcast post, whether it be on YouTube or SoundCloud, wherever you're listening to the podcast. And if you guys want to listen to the podcast, you can follow us on Facebook.com/AnimePodcasters. And you can just look us up in your favorite podcatcher, whether it be SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, we're everywhere, and leave us a 5-star review. We are approaching 7,000 plays very soon. If we could hit that before the 22nd of June, that'd be a great landmark for us. So we appreciate all of the people who stream us. We have a lot of listeners from Japan, and that's really cool. So shout out to everyone who enjoys this podcast. We're reaching the right audiences, I guess, is the way to put it. All right, go ahead, plug away your stuff, guys.
Okay, guys, I'm GoProkyo. You guys can find me at GoProkyo. Just pretty much anywhere. And if you guys want to follow me, I have a Twitter. I also have a Newgrounds. And if you guys want to see me a little more frequently, you'll see me on the Ponsu Cast, the anime podcasters' sister podcast on Austin's channel, Hotshot Ginger. That's Ponsu, PANTSU Cast.
Alright, guys.
Awesome. And yeah.
And like Yo just said, you guys can also find me over on my own channel where we did start a sister podcast. And what we cover over there is we cover the dirtier animes, the more free of life animes, just basically like easygoing stuff, and the
literally whatever Jaian says is not good enough for him.
but in all seriousness, it is just a different show for us to get a wider variety of shows out there, and it's one that's run by me and Kyo. You guys can find that over on my channel. You guys can also find me over on Twitter at Caution Ginger, and I am nowhere else other than here. I'm always here.
Perfect. Okay, and for myself, at JaianMusic everywhere. I cover anime music on my channel, so go check out all those soundtracks that I do. I have a special collaboration coming out with Ace, and I'm doing another Linkin Park cover, which will come out in the coming weeks. Also, I'm working on a Portfolio YouTube channel that's going to be coming out soon as well. And just a bunch of original music for Chip Machine and Lunatic Rappers. A lot of great stuff coming out in the next few weeks and months, so I'm very excited to share all of that with you. And JaianMusic.com if you want to hire me for any music or audio services. All right, for myself, GoProkyo and Hotshot, this has been another episode of
Anime Podcasters.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of Anime Podcasters. If you would like to support the podcast, you can find audio downloads on Apple Podcast, SoundCloud, and Google Play. If you would like to support the voices in this podcast, follow their links in the description and the Twitter handles on screen. See you next time, weebs.